Developing a scoring rubric is in many ways similar to a checklist, except that we're dealing possibly with a more complex performance that has more subjectivity. So again, it's about defining the performance area. And invariably, that's going to relate to your learning outcomes. For example, in conducting an experiment, one of the more complex areas might particularly to do with thinking is, has the student been able to look at the existing data and make valid inferences, interpretations, and then compare them with other data, perhaps on the literature review. What you need to do is to be able to look at the key attributes, the key elements, the key criteria, if you like, that underpin competence for each of the performance areas. Let's take the one here, that to be able to make valid inference interpretations from the data and comparisons, a student must understand certain concepts and certain types of thinking. For example, the concept of validity is important. What do we mean by inference interpretation, what's involved in that, and the ability to compare and contrast similarities and differences. Then from that, be able to frame, to craft a concise description of performance at a range of levels from very good to very poor. Now, this can be a scale of 5. Sometimes people use less. We won't go into that now. But this is the basic concept of developing a rubric. For example, in relation to this performance area of valid interpretation, is a fairly basic rubric. And you can see that it starts off with pretty much all valid inference derived from the data, interpretation consistently logical given the data, similarities and differences, identify significance of differences, similarities emphasized. And that moves down to most sum. There's different ways of doing this. I won't go into any great detail now in terms of the pros and cons. This is just to give you the basic frame.